All right, looks like we're live. Good evening, everybody. My name is Major Ryan Stolitz. I'm from Illinois Wing, and I am the lead for the Advanced Ground Search and Rescue School. Really excited to be here with you guys today. For those of you who were here last week, you kind of understand the gist of what we're doing. For those of you who are new, what we're doing here is, since we couldn't have NESA this year due to COVID and the pandemic, we decided that we wanted to still stay engaged with you guys, still provide some learning, provide you guys an opportunity to add on to your skill set. I do want to thank Major Perman for kind of kicking all of our butts and organizing this for us. So otherwise, without her, we wouldn't be doing this. So thank you, Major Perman. So today we're going to be talking about two tasks. We're going to be talking about the prepare ground team prepare individual ground team equipment. And we're also be talking about conducting an individual refit. We're going to do it a little bit differently than what you might normally teach about ground team gear. So instead of doing the death by PowerPoint, I've got my 24-hour gear laid out here in front of me. We're just going to rip it apart, and we're going to talk about what goes into 24-hour gear and how to pack it and all that. As we get started, one of the things I talk about a lot with members, especially newer members and especially parents of cadets, is that your 24-hour gear does not need to cost $400. In fact, as you go through this list, I bet 95% of the things I'm going to hold up are things that you can already find around your house. You can find the items around your house. You can put them in a backpack that you probably already have from school or work or whatever. For leftover from last year, whatever the case may be, you can put this together for probably $100 if you go scavenge around the house and find the stuff you already have. And that's what I hope you take away from this, is that this is really common, simple stuff. This isn't anything crazy. Please do not go home. Well, you're probably already home, but do not leave this session and decide, oh man, I need $400 to get all this ground team stuff together. That's not the case. You don't need that much money. Seriously, this is all basic stuff. If you're not GTM3 rated yet, you don't even know if you like this yet. So don't spend a lot of money on this. Keep it simple until you know what you like and what you don't like, and then level up your gear from there. To set expectations, we're only going to go through the 24-hour gear today. And the reason I've chosen to do it that way is because I just want to get through the basic stuff that you're going to need to get started as a GTM3. If you're going to become a team leader, or you're going to go up to level 2 or 1, or you're going to come to NESA, you will need 72-hour gear, you will need your team leader gear, you'll need some extra stuff. But we're going to cover the basics today. We're going to cover what you need to get started as a ground team member level 3. All right. So I have right in front of me the list, and I'm just going to go through each item. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to hold it up for you, show you what I have. I'm going to talk about it where we need to, and go from there. So the first section is all about things that are on your person. Now, I have them laid out here in front of me for easy access, but these would be things you would typically find in the various pockets of your uniform on your person. And the first thing, of course, is a complete BDU uniform. In my case, blue to use, but a complete BDU uniform. If you have ripstop uniform, that's great. If you don't, no big deal. Maybe think about it later. The second item, notepad and pencil. Here. Really simple, just notepad and pencil. I did get a question once. They said, Major Stolitz, do I need to write in the rain notebook? And by the way, speaking of questions, if you have questions, please throw your questions. There's a live event questions tab there. Please throw your questions in. The moderator's going to be answering questions, and then we're also going to be answering questions live on stream as well. So please, if you have questions, feel free to ask them. We'll answer them live on stream, or we'll answer them in the chat, at least as best as we can. So somebody asked me once, do I need to write in the rain notepad? The answer is no. Yeah, they're handy, but they also are expensive. I have one. I don't use it hardly ever. They're expensive. They require a lot of times they require specialized writing implements to write on if you want to use pen. You don't need one. If you want one, fine. They're like $10. They're really expensive for a notepad. You don't really need one, all right? So cap identification. I got mine. Easy enough. Watch. Right here. Simple enough. If you don't have a watch, many people don't have a watch. This is not your opportunity to buy like the crazy $150 runner watch, the outdoors watch, whatever. This watch is $8 from Walmart. I don't recommend this particular watch, but your typical $8 Walmart watch will do great. Vest reflective orange. So let's talk about vests for a second. Even though it's not called out in the ground team gear, it is called out in our safety regulations that our vests need to be ANSI Class 2. So that means, I'm not going to unroll it all the way, but it means it has lots of orange, it has lots of reflective material. There's a whole standard. You can usually tell that something is ANSI Class 2 because it'll say it on a tag somewhere. So you will know what it is by the tag. It's usually fairly obvious. But it does need to be ANSI Class 2. The simple hunter vests that are just orange with no reflective material are not enough. I do not carry so comb or brush is optional. I don't carry it because I keep my hair pretty short. If you keep your hair longer, obviously carry a comb or brush. You want to stay presentable. Ground team members handbook. So this is the ground team task guide. Now mine happens to be orange because I've duct taped it all out, but the ground team members handbook, the green Bible, you buy that at Vanguard. Looks like this on the inside. Where are we at? Signal mirror. I dig around the bottom of the bag now. So signal mirrors are fun because there's a lot of things that can kind of function as a signal mirror. But I'll show you mine so that you understand kind of what a dedicated signal mirror looks like. Where in this bag? It's in the bottom. All right. Well, it's lost in the bottom of the, oh wait, it's in this bag. Don't do live demos. So, signal mirror, this is what a signal mirror looks like. A good, like a dedicated signal mirror. They make them in bigger sizes, mine's just a little size. Even as I'm waving it around, you can see kind of how bright that is. I flashed the camera a couple of times. These are really highly polished and they have a sighting hole in the middle. So these are really, really good for signaling aircraft, even from long distances away. You know, the aircraft might only be 1,000 feet off the ground, but you might have to signal them laterally, horizontally from many thousands of feet away. And so these do a really good job of capturing that sunlight and creating a really focused beam. There are other things that can kind of serve as a signal mirror. People call out CDs a lot, and that's fine. If it works, it works. You know, I'm not going to be too upset about that. But, you know, a good signal mirror isn't horribly expensive and really does work a lot better than any of the homebrew methods for using a signal mirror. So it is one thing I do recommend if you can get your hands on a dedicated actual signal mirror. Whistle. So as you go through your ground team training, you will learn about whistles and whistle signals and what they mean. And these are a really important safety tool because they allow you to alert somebody beyond even where they can hear you that something is wrong. So if you're in a line search or something, that it's really valuable for that. This happens to be a referee whistle that doesn't have one of the little balls in it, so I don't have to worry about it freezing in the winter. You don't really need something that fancy, but it can be handy. And then we have our pocket knife or utility knife. So knives are a hot topic for ground team, especially new ground team. Just get a multi-tool, get a Gerber tool. It's what I have. I never use it, never need to, but it's there. I have it if I need it. My ground team equipment stays in the back of my car, not because I need to do ground team stuff very often, but because it has little stuff like this in it that's kind of handy to have when you're out and about. So. All right. The other thing I'll touch on real quickly before we take our first round of questions is going to be first aid kit. So you can buy commercial first aid kits. In fact, that's what I did originally. So my first aid kit originally came in a little pouch that looks like this. It was really super bulky and it was annoying me today, so I took it out and I put it in with my other stuff. So first aid kit should consist of everything listed there. Most commercial first aid kits are going to have everything listed there, but they should tell you what they have before you buy them. And then any personal medications. And you can see I have a lot of over-the-counter stuff because this is the Keep Major Style It's Happy bag. So this has stuff like ibuprofen, allergy meds, stuff that help me stay effective in the field. And that's really why I wanted to show you this bag, is because nobody is going to have meds to give you when you're in the field or at any CAP activity, really. If you think you're going to need something for feet, for allergies, for whatever it might be, you need to bring that with you. And cadets, Talk with your parents, figure out what they are comfortable with you having and carrying and knowing how to use, and carry that, because we can't provide you with medication. There's a bunch of rules around it. So please, if you think you're going to need ibuprofen, Tylenol, allergy meds, whatever, carry that with you in your 24-hour gear. That's what that gear is for. With that, why don't we grab 2 or 3 questions and go ahead and answer those.
All right, I'm going to get this before Lieutenant Anderson does. So Cadet Staff Sergeant Spencer Lee Gardner from Texas 334. My wing is in phase 0 of getting back to work with activities. Would I still be able to get a senior to sign me off on search and rescue tasks? Is it considered an essential activity?
That is going to be, so every wing, every wing has their own plan for moving back to work. And right now, in many wings, training is not considered an essential activity. So if you need an in-person evaluation in many wings, you might not be able to get that right now. And every wing has a different plan for how they're going to reopen. So in Illinois, I think we're in the process of moving into another phase. So that being said, depending on the wing and depending on who the SETs are, some wings are helping with remote evaluations. So you might get on a Zoom or a Teams or something like this and go through tasks that way. Not good for practical stuff, but good for knowledge-based stuff. So there may be some opportunities for you to do that, but that's going to be kind of up to Texas. And to kind of directly answer the question, I don't think anybody is considering training to be essential right now. It's going to be, you're going to be able to get back in person and do training at whatever point your wing's phased plan lets you do that.
Perfect. And we actually have Lieutenant Colonel Long chiming in from NHQ 007. This is an opportune module to address the importance of proper uniform wear. Major Stolitz should possibly address this. 1, most of our missions and training are done in the public eye. And 2, we should always remain cognizant of not only how we look, but also how we act in professionalism. Can you speak on that, Major Stolitz?
Absolutely. So thank you for that. So by the way, for those of you who don't know, Colonel Long is the GSAR Commandant and the Academy Deputy Director. Very near and dear to all of our hearts. So I'm glad he chimed in. Searches are very high-profile activities. Whether it's media, local crowds, family, they are very high-profile activities. So it is always important that we be looking and acting our best when we're in the field. It's really important to understand that CAP is in this weird space with search and rescue because we use teenagers in search and rescue. Many organizations do not use teenagers in search and rescue. You will probably, here in Illinois on the local county teams, you will probably not find anybody under the age of 18. We do. We send cadets out into the field. We need everybody, and actually adults actually always need this reminder, but we need to act according to the uniform that we wear. Which means, number 1, our uniform always needs to look good, and number 2, we need to be acting with the professionalism that the Air Force expects of us when they send us out on these activities.
Perfect. Tech Sergeant Garcia from Florida 355. What kind of backpack or web gear is recommended for the 24-hour pack?
That's a great question. We're actually going to move into that towards the end of the gear. So I'm going to go through what's in the pack first, and then I'm going to go into what the gear goes into, or what the stuff goes into. So that's going to be very last. I'll show you what my backpack looks like, why I chose it, and how it should fit your body. All right. If there are any other questions that you guys want to answer over text, feel free. But I'm going to move on to the next section just so we can keep moving.
Yeah, we'll queue them up and we'll come back.
Absolutely. Okay, so we talked about first aid kit a little bit. So we're going to talk a little bit about survival kit. And actually, survival kit, there's only 6 items in here, so this isn't going to take too long. The purpose of the survival kit is just to give you some basics to not die if you get caught out in the woods in the field. And it's really basic. This is it. This is the entire bag. And by the way, Right now I have my 24-hour gear organized according to the bags that are called out in the task. I really do recommend that, and the reason for that is when you're getting evaluated, it makes it a lot easier when you're going down the list of just, okay, now we're gonna go through the survival kit, and I'm gonna pull out these 6 items, right? It makes it a lot easier, a lot faster to evaluate, and you're gonna know exactly where everything is. There have been too many cases where I've had students who, I know I have flagging tape somewhere, but I don't know where it is in this probably 50-pound bag that they're carrying, plus everything they got rattling around in their pockets. It's really important to keep your gear organized, and what better way to organize it than the way it's literally laid out in the book. So there are times where like I keep my flashlight in a different pocket just so I can grab it faster, and my gloves, but realistically, if you keep it organized according to the task guide, it all kind of comes together and it works. So this is a survival gear. Like I said, there's not much to this. You're not going to have a very fun time if you're surviving with this, but it is available for your use. The first item is 5 to 10 feet of duct tape. Mine happens to be orange, it doesn't have to be, but what I've done is I've wrapped it around a Sharpie, primarily because I like having a Sharpie around and I needed something to wrap duct tape around. So, you know, kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I don't recommend carrying a full roll of duct tape. I used to do that. When I was much less experienced, I used to roll with a full roll of duct tape, and it was really annoying. So I don't recommend doing that. I recommend take 5 or 10 feet. It doesn't have to be orange, it can be whatever color you can get your hands on. Wrap it around a pen, Sharpie, pencil, whatever you want. Stick. So 2 leaf bags. I carry trash bags, which serve the same purpose. And you also see there's a couple Ziploc bags in there just because they're handy to have around. So really the purpose of having those in the survival gear is literally garbage. Garbage and maybe a few other things, but I carry trash bags because they pack down super small. 12 wooden waterproof matches, as well as a match container with a striking surface. So just to understand what you guys are looking at here, here are wooden waterproof matches. And on the side of the container itself is the striking surface. So I personally do not keep one of the dedicated orange containers. You could, they're like $5. You could. I keep mine in a Ziploc. They're wooden waterproof matches with a striker on the side, and they're in a waterproof-ish container. So, and these are actually waterproof matches, so that helps as well. So chemical light stick, green. I do recommend green here, right? So the task guide says green, so you need green. But I do recommend green. What happens when you start getting creative with the colors, yellow is really bad about this, is that if you're in a situation where you're trying to preserve night vision, which you're not always going to be, if you're actively searching, you're going to be using white light and not that concerned about night vision. But if you're navigating, other colors will tend to mess with your night vision. We like green. They're good for sticking on your pack so your team leader can see where you are and help keep accountability. They're good for marking shelters if you need them. You can get them at most party stores. This one is a little bit fancier, but I don't recommend starting with the fancy stuff first. Just get what you can get. Finally, 50 feet of nylon line or paracord. So this is what I carry. It's just a really simple nylon line. It's not real paracord. It's just nylon line. And it's really handy for a lot of things. You can use it as bootlaces if you need to. You can use it literally tying things together. Your first major experience, if you come to NESA with nylon line, will be setting up your shelter, and it's really good to have for that. So that closes out the survival kit. We'll probably take a few more questions.
It looks super sad and empty. There are no new questions for you.
No new questions. I should ask more questions. I like questions. That being said, the survival kit is kind of sad and empty. What is not sad and empty?
There is a couple of times, several times now, if you could address knives. You did talk about the Gerber tool, multi-tool, but it filled several questions about knives.
Absolutely, and actually I'm going to pull out my task guide and flip to that page so I make sure I don't give the wrong answer. Bottom line, guys, I do not recommend any kind of fixed blade knife, survival knives, or ride out. I do not recommend any kind of fixed blade knife. I don't even recommend folding knives anymore. I recommend multi-tools. They have a knife, so you can open your MRE, which is realistically the only thing you're going to need a knife for anyways. And they also have other handy things. They have a screwdriver on them, so if you need to replace the batteries in your Elper and you have like the blue box one that has actual screws in it, really handy for that. It's really handy for occasional, you need to get into something, radios, whatever, right? So that's really handy. So, restrictions on knives. You may only wear a sheath, by the way, guys. This is a reference guide. So if you have questions and you want to make sure you're right, like I'm doing right now, open your task guide. It's there for a reason. I've been in the field before and I have not used, I've been on crash scenes where I did not use my task guide and I missed things I was supposed to do. Okay, so make sure, questions, don't know what you're doing, need a checklist, open the task guide. It's like my favorite thing ever. Okay, so restrictions on knives. You may only wear a sheath knife if authorized by your team leader. I'm a team leader. I'm never authorizing you to wear a sheath knife ever, so don't plan on it. Okay. Sheath knives cannot have a blade longer than 6 inches total length or greater than 11 inches, or total length greater than 11 inches. Sheath knives must be adequately secured to protect the wearer of the blade. Sheath knives will only be worn on a pistol bolt or carried inside pack. This is the really important part. The following knife types are not authorized: boot knives, butterfly knives, switchblades, double-edged knives, Rambo-style survival knives, or knives with retracting sheaths. Machetes or hatchets don't really matter, but they can only be carried by senior members when needed for that specific sortie. No knives may be visible when performing crash site surveillance duty. Buy a multi-tool. All that doesn't matter if you buy a multi-tool and keep it in your pack. We're going to talk about stupid stuff hanging off of your pack in a little bit. Don't buy a sheath knife. Don't hang it on your gear. Don't buy a fixed blade knife. Don't even buy a pocket knife. Buy a multi-tool. The Walmart brand ones are like $10 and they work just fine. Does that answer the question?
That sounds pretty good. So there's one of them that's here, and actually, kind of like this one. What is the top? Is it's put useless items that you see cadets and seniors carry into the field. So what are the top things that people carry with them that aren't necessary in the field, taking up weight and space and dead air?
MREs. We're going to talk about food in a few minutes. MREs are hands down my least favorite piece of ground team equipment ever, for several reasons. People don't like to eat them because they're expensive. People don't like to eat them because they don't taste good. To some people, I like them. And some people, and they take up a lot of space. My gear does not have enough room for MREs. It just flat out doesn't. MREs, probably easily my hands down least favorite piece of ground team equipment for carrying in a 24-hour pack. They're handy in other contexts. You know, we go through them by the pallet in NESA. Obviously, they have their use, but I don't like people for normal day-to-day ground team stuff buying MREs to keep in their 24-hour gear. We'll talk more about food here in a few minutes. Moderators, you can chime in if there's anything. The basic folks would probably know a lot more than me, but. Anderson looks like he's deep in thought. We'll move on. We got to keep moving. So SAR equipment's going to take a few minutes to get through. So SAR equipment, where the survival kit is very small, the SAR equipment is very big. Okay. There are things in here that I normally keep elsewhere in my pack, like bug spray, for example. But I got it all in here so we can get it all out together. So. Of course, this particular piece is like in the middle of the bag. The first thing on the list, change of socks, okay? Change of socks. There's no greater luxury in the world than a change of socks when your feet are wet. And by the way, it doesn't just take going through a stream or being in the rain to get your feet wet. Your feet sweat. You can what? Sweat is wet, okay? Your socks are gonna get wet. You're not gonna have a good time. Bring a change of socks. Bring 2 changes of socks. Whatever, but make sure you got some dry socks in your gear. Flagging tape. So flagging tape is also known as like surveyor's tape. You can get this at any hardware store. Mine happens to be yellow. Yours doesn't need to be yellow. They sell it in orange and some other stuff. They also sell this in biodegradable form, depending on where you look. You can get that if you want to. When I bought this, I didn't happen to have that handy. I was at Farm and Fleet most likely. And so now I have flagging tape / surveyor's tape / contractor's tape. Flashlight. So this is a great opportunity. Flashlights aren't in the bag. To talk about flashlights. Okay, you need a flashlight and a second flashlight. Flashlights get super spendy. All right, there are people who will spend $100, $200 on a flashlight. Do not do that. All right, there's no need. This flashlight came from Walmart. It's Ozark Trail, which is a Walmart house brand. This flashlight also came from Walmart. It's Bushnell. It's not a house brand. It's actually a little spendier than a house brand, but I like it. It's like 20 bucks. Okay, this is all you need. All right, this one has the white light, and this one is white and red. And actually, there's like a blue light on there as well that I don't care about, never use. And they're pretty bright. You know, you don't need to spend $300 on a 2000 lumen whatever. In fact, you're probably going to get like 45 minutes of battery life out that thing anyways, and you're going to have to carry 20 pounds of batteries. All right, spend 30 bucks, get a couple flashlights, you know, get a big flashlight and get a headlamp even. I don't carry a headlamp, but Cop really likes his headlamp, I know. These are my flashlights. Don't spend a ton of money on this. There's no need. Walmart has great flashlights in the outdoors aisle. All right, flashlight, spare flashlight. Insect repellent. It's not really called out in the task guide, but if you don't have issues with DEET and you want to carry bug spray with DEET in it, do so. I don't recommend like DEET sticks. I used to carry those. I don't really anymore. I carry this big old can of like off Deep Woods. It's $3 at Walmart, and it does the job just fine. I spray my uniform, spray my hat, good to go. Sunscreen, well, lip balm, actually. Where did my lip balm go? Uh-oh, there it is. Lip balm. You'd be surprised. Like, guys, guys are not super big on lip balm. Carry it. Just it's in the checkout aisle at Walmart for $1. Just buy it. All right. Your lips get dry. You get dehydrated. You know, don't get dehydrated. But if you do get dehydrated, your lips are going to be dry. If you're out in the sun, your lips are going to be dry. Not going to be super fun. Just carry lip balm. And Miller is demonstrating in the camera. What else we got? Sunscreen lotion. All right, so I'll just hold it up for you guys. Sunscreen lotion right here. This stuff is probably SPF whatever. This one's SPF 100. I bought it because it was small and because it's sport sunscreen lotion, so it's harder to sweat it off. I like wearing my sleeves down, so I don't have to worry too much about sunscreen. You know, you do you. Putting this away. Tissue paper. So folks, tissue paper is a really friendly way of saying toilet paper. And you know what? You always want to have some toilet paper with you. You don't know what weird porta potty you're going to have to use that may or may not have toilet paper, so it's always handy to have some on you. Work gloves. I dropped my Cat Form 106s. So these are just a really standard pair of Lowe's work gloves. They probably, I can't remember what they cost, but they cost a few dollars, all right? They don't have to be yellow. Mine happen to be yellow, okay? They don't have to be yellow. They can be whatever color. Just a standard set of work gloves. These do have, it mentions leather on the task guide. These do have like a reinforced leather-like or leather palm. And what that's really useful for is if you're wearing it and you put your hands up, it's traipsing through the woods. I can do this. I can do this and grab branches, thorny bits, other stuff, and not have to worry about messing with my hands. So work gloves are really nice when you're having to tramp through the woods, especially when you're not like out west where you have really nice forests, when you're in the Midwest or the East where we have lots of scrub and just really awful forests. So interviewing forms I dropped on the floor. So these are your Cat Form 106s, okay? You're not going to learn how to use these as a ground team member 3, but you may need to fill in the blanks for a team leader, so they're good to have around. All right. Moist towelettes. I actually answered a question for a member once who you said it says 4 moist. What is it? 4 moist towelettes. Yeah, 4 moist towelettes, clean in foil wrapper. And they were asking about that. You can buy packs of these for like 99 cents in the travel aisle at the pharmacy at Walmart or wherever your superstore is. I like these. Just spend the 99 cents on a little pack to keep in your gear. They seal up so they stay wet for a long time and you don't have to worry about it. So that's what I recommend. Just go get a travel size pack of towelettes. Change for phone calls, calling card, a cell phone. Well, it's 2020 and this list was written in 2005, so I have a cell phone. Okay, you probably do too. That being said, if you come to NESA, you will not be allowed to have a cell phone in the field. So just be prepared for that reality. You won't really need to call anybody anyways. If you do need to call somebody, we'll let you use one of ours. But yeah, no cell phones in the field. I'll take questions here because the next thing is meals, and obviously I'm very passionate about what people pack to eat. So why don't we pause for questions here before I move on?
Bueller. Staff Sergeant Spencer Lee Gardner from Texas 334.
Thank you, Sergeant Gardner. Thank you. Second question. Awesome. Thank you.
What is the name of that form again?
CAP Form 106. CAPF 106. That's actually it doesn't say that in the task guide. It just says interviewing forms. That's interesting. Yep, CAP Form 106. Questions, comments, concerns, hopes, dreams, aspirations?
I believe they aspire for you to continue.
Okay.
There are no further questions at this time.
Awesome. All right, meals. So I said before, MREs are my least favorite piece of ground team equipment. Here's why. You need to carry 2 meals. So if you figure 2 meals equals 2 MREs, now you've spent $25 on food out the door. So if we figured I don't want you to spend more than about $100 on ground team gear, you've just blown 25% of it on food. And here's the other thing. I get to a lot of activities and the question will come up, will we be stopping somewhere for lunch? I'll say, you're supposed to have meals, 2 meals in your 24-hour gear. Why can I not send you out? I'm an incident commander now. Why can I not send you out without having to stop for food? Like, well, I have MREs, but I don't want to, they're expensive and I don't want to eat those. I want to save those for a real mission. So can we stop somewhere for lunch? All right, here's the deal. Or somebody will be like, I have MREs, but I don't really like them, right? Here's the deal. If you have food in your gear that you're not willing to eat under any circumstances, what's the point of having it in there? All right, if it's either too expensive to eat or you don't want to eat it because it just doesn't taste good to you, what is the point of having the food in your gear just taking up space? And that's the other thing about MREs is they're massive. You can field strip them, you can make them a little smaller, but generally speaking, they're gigantic. All right, so carrying around 2 MREs is expensive. People don't like to eat them and they just take up a bunch of space. So here's what I do for meals. I have this little bag packed up here. This is actually not quite as much food as I would recommend having, but it's kind of what was in there. So I took the labels off of these, but these are little Hormel microwave meals. Okay, you can choose whatever you want. They don't have to be these little Hormel microwave meals, but the idea is that you can go to Walmart and you can go to the canned food aisle or the prepared food aisle, and you can get various non-perishable meals that look like this. Okay, so this is Hormel brand. There are others out there. If you can microwave it, they do taste better, but if you can't microwave it, they're fine. They taste fine. They're safe to eat. They're stable for probably years, honestly, and they're cheap. This is like $3 or probably even less than that, right? And it has maybe 400 calories in it. All right, and we'll talk about why that's important in a minute. So I like to carry these just shelf-stable microwave meals that don't need refrigeration and don't even really need to be microwaved. The other thing I personally like to carry is Cliff Bars, but whatever snack works for you, whatever healthy snack, right? So M&Ms aren't recommended, but Cliff Bars or other trail mix bars are recommended because I can eat them on the go. They're on you about 250 calories a piece, and they're relatively inexpensive. You get 6 in a box for probably $8. I've mentioned a couple times here about calories, and the reason is that a lot of people will say, well, what constitutes 2 meals? All right, and I've seen the gamut of people will roll up with 2 Cliff Bars and say, well, here's my 2 meals, and then I'll see people who, especially evaluators, will say anything less than 2 full MREs is not 2 meals. The task guide is not particularly clear on this. Here's what I recommend. The 24-hour pack is designed to sustain you in the field for 24 hours. The FDA recommended daily calorie intake, daily being 24 hours, is 2,000 calories. Therefore, I've always recommended that your 2 meals consist of, between the 2 of them, 2,000 calories. That's always been my recommendation, whether you have a couple entrees like these microwave meals, and you have other snacks and Cliff Bars or whatever to make up the remainder. I clearly don't have a full 2,000 calories here, just because this is just what was in my gear. I recommend that your 2 meals across both of them consist of 2,000 calories total, and that to me is what constitutes 2 meals. I'm not a huge stickler on it, but if you roll in with 2 Cliff Bars and call it a day, we might have a conversation about that. So, moral of the story, don't buy MREs, buy something else. MREs are all fun and cool and whatever. Lord knows we eat a lot of them at NESA because they come in cases that come in the back of vans to you. But they're not really ideal for hauling around in a 24-hour pack. Next up is shelter material. So shelter material means tarp for the most part. Okay, so this is a tarp. You buy these at Walmart, you buy these at Harbor Freight, you buy these wherever you go for hardware, whatever. Okay, just buy a tarp. Prefers 8x10. The role of the tarp in this equipment is not, when I was a cadet, I used to think like, oh man, we're gonna get to search, we're gonna set up our little tarp shelters, and then we're gonna be out for 3 days, and we're just gonna like stage out of this. We're gonna go like a mile down a trail and do all this. And that's not how reality works. This tarp is designed to give you shelter if your team gets stuck out in the woods overnight, unsupported, and you're just stuck. Okay, it's a piece of survival equipment for you guys. It is a marginally adequate tent, but it'll keep you alive. We teach you how to build them at NESA. You'll sleep under them, under some tarps at NESA, because if your team gets stuck out overnight, we want you to be prepared to be a search and rescue team and not another victim. And that's why we ask you to carry this equipment. Coat for appropriate climate. As it happens, it's June. I think it was 95 today here in Illinois, or 90. I don't remember what the car said. It was hot. So no coat in here. But on the item of poncho, I do have, for me, I carry durable rain gear. So this is, I think this is Columbia brand. You don't have to get Columbia brand, but this is a little rain jacket that I bought that packs down onto itself. I also have a pair of rain pants in the bag just because I really don't like to be wet. But I carry durable rain gear. You can carry whatever poncho you want. I don't recommend the Dollar General 99-cent poncho. I do recommend something a little more durable than that. Plenty of wet GSAR students will attest to that. But poncho is fine. Durable rain gear is fine. If you do want durable rain gear, you have the room for it, and you have a little bit of extra money to spend. Frog Togs is a good place to start. It's like wearing a Tyvek bunny suit, so it's not super comfortable, but they do keep you dry, at least from the outside. They keep you dry, and you can buy them at the Walmart outdoor section, and they're not overly expensive. So Frog Togs, if you do want durable rain gear, Frog Togs is a good place to start. Otherwise, get a marginally durable or reasonably durable poncho. No 99-cent store. Don't think you're going to cut a hole in a trash bag and call it a poncho. You're going to have a bad time if you do that. Think about your rain gear for a second, because it does rain a lot in some cases. Canteens to carry 2 quarts of water. So rather than pulling my hydration pouch out, I'm just going to show you on the back of my gear. I have a hydration pouch in here. It does actually have water in it today. Here's the hose. It is 2 quarts. Actually, it's 2 liters, which is close. It is really, really, really important that you be carrying at least 2 quarts of water. I can, of all the various dehydrations that I've worked with over, I don't know how many years, I can almost always link dehydration to the amount of water somebody is carrying. All right, if you're only carrying this bottle of water to stay hydrated, number one, it tells me that your head's not in the right place and you don't really think you need to stay hydrated. Number two, it's going to run out quickly and you're not going to refill it. All right, 2 quarts of water, easily accessible. Don't bury it in the bottom of your gear. That's why I like the it's not a Camelback, but the hydration pack. That's why I like that stuff, but it doesn't have to be. It can be canteens. It can be kind of what works for you, as long as it's 2 quarts and it's easily accessible. By the way, on that subject, if you have any water or any fluids near you, why don't we all take a drink? This is a time-honored activity at NESA. Time-honored activity.
I think we should shout out to Colonel Long and make sure he has a drink as well.
All right. Time-honored activity, drinking water in class. All right. Canteens, compass pouch containing compass. So I will be the first person to admit I don't have a super fancy compass pouch. What I have is a Ziploc bag containing a compass. Actually, it contains 2 compasses. I've never quite decided if the plural of compass is compi, but compasses is kind of hard. Anyways, compass. Let's talk about compasses for a minute. This is a really fancy compass that I acquired by dumb luck. Okay, this is Kaminga. I don't recommend, this is like a $90 compass. Don't buy this, okay? This is a lensatic compass. It's the kind of the military style compass, that green compass. There is also another style of compass called an orienteering compass. So this one is made by a company called Silva. I like to call these map compasses sometimes because we use them exclusively in map work. You can use these. The Army teaches you how to use these on maps, but it's annoying, so we use these. Okay, this is made by a company called Silva. These cost about $20, and they're really good compasses. Okay, Silva and Sunto, S-U-U-N-T-O, are kind of the 2 key words for compasses. Okay. What I don't want you to do is this is one of those areas where you do not want to buy the $5 thing from Walmart. Okay, this is the 1 or 2 exceptions to my rule of buy your stuff from Walmart. Okay, your compass, do not buy from Walmart. Go on Amazon, go wherever you do your online shopping, search Silva, S-I-L-V-A. Maybe we can throw that in chat. Or Sunto, S-U-U-N-T-O. Okay, they both make a good basic orienteering compass that costs you about $20. You can do everything you need to do with it. And it's high quality. And with that, we're actually kind of through what goes in the pack. So since this isn't exactly a chatty crowd, you guys have a couple minutes here to think up your questions and ask them, because I'm going to throw all this stuff back into my bag, and I'll take questions once I've done that. So give me just 2 minutes, and in the meantime, why don't you guys throw some questions in chat.
Friendly reminder that your record is 2 minutes and 7 seconds.
Yeah, we actually, so Top and I actually timed this earlier. It was kind of fun.
While you are packing, what do you take for self-defense against wildlife?
Let me finish what I'm doing and I will answer that question, because there's going to be a nuanced answer to that. Oh, by the way, I think I missed tissues. or handkerchief. These cost like next to nothing at Walmart, and they're really handy to have around.
We're not setting a.
All right. The other nice thing about keeping your gear organized, it comes out of the pack quickly, it goes back into the pack relatively quickly. That was probably 3 minutes, right, Kyle?
Somewhere around there.
Yeah, it was a little longer than last time, but that's okay. So, I think the question was, what do we take for defense against animals? Is that the question?
Yes.
All right. So the easy national level answer is that you don't. All right. What typical outdoorsmen might carry, people carry like bear spray and stuff like that. There really is no paradigm within CAP for you to be able to do that. And you're never going to get a national paradigm on that, because the last thing I want is a 13-year-old cadet rolling in with a can of bear spray, either in his hand or in his gear, that's either going to make for a really bad day or make for an even really bad day. Okay, and yes, that's a word. All right. Different wings may do different things based on their own perceived risk. So I live in Illinois. We really don't have things that eat you here. Okay. Yes, coyotes have sharp teeth, but they don't like me any more than I like them. Okay. We really don't have things that eat you here. Out in the Rockies, if your wing feels like it has a particularly bad grizzly bear problem and that's a concern, they can kind of handle that locally. But the last thing I want is anybody who doesn't need to be, especially a cadet, rolling in with anything more than a Gerber tool in their bag.
Excellent. One of the items that was requested was addressing the issue of outerwear. In the past, there was quite a disconnect between the idea of uniformity versus warmth. The EAS regulations were rather silent on the topic, which resulted in incident commanders or ground team leaders regulating outside of their scope. The cadet programs team has recently addressed this issue, clarifying that warmth and safety were priority. Can you address that from the ground team perspective?
Sure. If you're freezing and hypothermic, you can't do your job. I mean, that's the bottom line. And I'm going to kind of step around this one because it's a very difficult national level conversation with not a lot of good answers. And my voice is not going to add anything to that. There is in the regulations now that cadets are permitted to wear civilian outerwear when needed. I don't believe under regulation that extends to senior members. So under regulation, senior members should have outerwear that is appropriate for the uniform that they're wearing. In my case, I'm lucky because Blue BDUs allow civilian outerwear. So if it's that passionate of an issue to you, maybe you get Blue BDUs. But if you're a senior member, but cadets are absolutely 100% under regulation, at least the last time I read them, allowed to wear civilian outerwear as a component of their uniform due to safety reasons. I know you were probably looking for something a little more substantive than that. I don't have that to offer you. It's kind of a difficult conversation right now that I don't really have anything major to add.
How did you get your, that one we can answer one off. What type of bag? So there's been a few questions on military equipment and bags. What type of bag is best for 24-hour? What do you prefer, and why?
Why don't we go ahead and move into that then? So it sounds like we've hit the other stuff. So so here's the great reveal. Here's my 24-hour bag. Ta-da! This is a backpack. Okay. This is not the fancy Black Hawk Camelback whatever $150 bag. This is not that. Okay. This bag was I think $30 on Amazon. Okay. If you search tactical bag or tactical backpack on Amazon, you'll get a lot of bags that look really similar to this. Okay. There's some molly webbing on here. I don't use it. It's kind of stupid on this bag. But it's there. We'll talk about dangly bits on your gear here in a minute. You'll notice I have my name tape on there. That's not a requirement. It had a Velcro pad, and I had a spare name tape. So now there's a name tape on my gear. Not a requirement, not anything you need. That was just something I did because I don't know, I was bored and I have a friend with a sewing machine. So so here's what I carry. It's just this. It's just a backpack, and here's why I carry a backpack. I used to have an orange harness system, and I've really liked it, and I still do like it. But my 24-hour gear, and so will yours, will live most of its life in a vehicle. Okay, even on ground sorties, it will still live most of its life in a vehicle, most likely. Okay, the load-bearing equipment, and I see this a lot from people who have it still, does not travel well. It is just falling all over the place. It doesn't, it gets caught under other people's gear. So now you got people yanking their gear out of the back of the van or whatever they have to do. It doesn't travel well. It doesn't store well. What a backpack did for me, once I realized that this spends much more time in my car than it does on my back, is it keeps all of my stuff together in one place. Okay, it's not this system that is kind of all falling apart. It keeps everything in one place. I do want to address the other thing, which I mentioned before, is no dangly bits. Okay, you see this gear has basically nothing on the outside of it except for a little hose for my water bladder, right? That's it. One of my predecessors in AGSAR, I don't remember exactly what he calls it, but he has this paradigm that regarding flashlights that are hanging off of gear. Okay, we see this a lot. The angle head flashlight hanging off of a backpack or load-bearing equipment or whatever, which ultimately ends up falling off either in a van or in the field, or somebody's putting it on and it swings around and cracks somebody else in the face, and we got to deal with that, or whatever. Like, and it might not be a flashlight. It might be flagging tape. It might be a compass. It might be, 100 other things. About flashlights specifically, the guy's name is Jake Mellard. He's my predecessor. He says, if the night sneaks up on you, you have much bigger problems to deal with. Okay, so you do not need to have your flashlight at the quick draw. All right, you do not need to have your flagging tape at the quick draw. All right, you're gonna know night's coming. If you don't know night's coming, you got much bigger problems to handle. All right, so on the topic of what kind of bag to carry and how to carry it, I like a backpack. I like a simple backpack. Like I like a. I mean, this is not a $5 backpack, okay, and this is not a school backpack. Although you can absolutely, if you have a backpack from last year's school or whatever sitting in the closet that you're not using and it looks professional and it's not like Spider-Man and Hello Kitty, by all means use it. Okay, you've already paid for it. You may as well use it. But in my case, I like just this tactical backpack. It cost me $30 on Amazon, and it does 100% of what I need it to do and nothing more. So I'm going to throw this on real quick because I want to show you something really important about how to wear a backpack, which is what most people carry. And by the way, the other nice thing about backpacks is they go on really fast. Okay, I might not have like everything right in front of me. I learned really quickly I don't need everything right in front of me. If I need my compass, I can take 2 seconds to grab it out of my bag. But it goes on really fast. So like sometimes the load bearing systems, they get tangled up, they get messed up. You have to stand around messing with them. Like this went on my back instantly, and then I can start walking and fidget with the straps while I walk. So at NESA and on ground team training in general, the first thing I notice about a new student usually is how they're carrying their gear. Oftentimes it'll be hanging low on their back. So like you can see mine is very high on my back. You'll see it very low on the back, like in the lumbar area here. You'll see it very low on the back. You'll see where there's a huge gap between their body and their gear. Okay, so that means the weight is away from your back even further. All right, these are very bad ways to carry your gear, because it is. My gear is with water maybe 20-25 pounds. Okay, doesn't feel like much when you put it on in the car. Well, not in the car, but at home. But after you've been carrying it for 8 hours, yeah, that hurts. Okay, that's going to hurt your back. It's going to hurt your shoulders. So when you're carrying your gear, here's what you need to do. And we have to make this adjustment. I mean, Herman and Anderson, you guys know from basic, like all the times we've had to adjust students' gear, help them adjust their gear. You know, too much gear is a big thing. Seriously, guys, carry what's on the list. I've had cadets from my squadron that I've sent to NESA. I just kind of let it go, but people who have gear that's bigger than they are is a really big deal. It doesn't help anybody. So I would carry what's on the list, and you know, you can carry a little more. I carry a little more, but not needed to carry a lot. So you'll see with my equipment, it's very high on my back. It's very close to my body, and those are the two key things that you want. The other thing that's really nice about a backpack that is meant to be carried for long amounts of time is that it has this chest strap. Now, the chest strap's goal is not to be unhooked. Okay, I see this a lot in the field. I see unhooked chest straps. Okay, or I see chest straps that are not properly tightened, so they'll be really loose. They're really loose. If they're not contacting your body, they're also not doing any good, because here's what the chest strap does. When you properly tighten a chest strap, you're going to know what it's doing, because I feel the weight of my backpack across my chest here and off of my shoulders. All right, so I'm carrying so little weight on my shoulders that I can actually stick my hands in there. You can't really see it, but I can stick my hand between the straps really easily, between the straps on my shoulder, because almost all of the weight is getting carried across my chest. Okay, and that is going to make for a lot more comfortable experience of all day carrying, because your chest is going to be a lot stronger than your shoulders and your back. All right, so this is really what you want. High on the body, gear really cinched together. If you can, this has a lot of adjustments, so you can kind of cinch this gear tight. So you see my pack is adjusted really tightly, so it all carries together close to my back. Really no gaps. High on my body, chest strap properly tightened. So does that answer the question of what to carry the stuff in and how to carry it? Who has questions after that? Well, that's good. The other nice thing about a backpack with no dangly bits and nothing to fall off in the field is that when I'm done with it, I can chuck it over in the corner, and it's not going to hurt a thing. All right, unless somebody happens to be standing where I chuck it. So I can chuck that across the room. I can chuck it in the back of the van, whatever. Nothing's flying off. Nothing's going anywhere. All my gear is safe and sound inside my pack. So the other topic we want to talk about tonight, and keep asking questions about anything. Well, about anything about the topic tonight, but keep asking questions. But the other topic we're going to talk about tonight is the 4 R's, and it's about conducting individual refit. So after a sortie or after a mission, you're probably going to have used your gear in some way. You might have eaten a meal. You might have run out of batteries for your flashlight. You might have broken something, right? You may have had to use your duct tape. So after a sortie and after a mission, you need to prepare your equipment to go back out again. Because whether it's the end of the sortie, and because it might be the end of the sortie and you're getting ready to go get tasked to do something else, okay? Or it might be the end of the mission and you don't know when the next mission is coming. You need your gear to be ready to go again, right? So we have a really, really simple way to remember this. And it's talked about in the task guide, so I'm not going to go through it in a huge amount of detail, but we'll talk about it, all right? It's the 4 R's. The 4 R's. That's all you need to remember is the 4 R's. The first R is repair, okay? So I mentioned before that my flashlight was broken. I ran out of, my flashlight's broken. Its batteries are dead, right? So I need to repair that flashlight. This one's always a funny one. I've seen like complete boot failures, like people's boots, like the outsoles will just completely separate, the zippers will separate, whatever. There are ways you can repair those in the field if you have to. You carry duct tape for a reason, right? So number one, if you really love GSAR, buy nice boots. But number two is you know, if you do have a repair come up, that first R, repair, okay? The second R, replenish, all right? So let's say I use my meals. I ate my meals in the field. I need to replenish those somehow now, right? Another great reason not to carry MREs. I cannot buy MREs at Walmart. I can buy everything that I just showed you in my food at Walmart, okay? That's specifically where it came from, right? I can buy that anywhere. Can't buy MREs anywhere. So whether I need to replenish food, batteries, duct tape, flagging tape, tissues, whatever, all these different consumables in your gear, water, water, water. Please fill your water. Please fill your water. Okay. You got to replenish. All right. Number three, repack. You saw me repack earlier, right? Now I didn't have to do any of the first two, so it repacked pretty quick. But repack. Got to make sure it's all back in the gear. Because and I've run into this myself, where it's like, oh, I've got my 24-hour pack, but I can't remember where my Gerber tool is. I used it for something, and like my flashlight is somewhere else because I was, you know, up in the attic and I needed a flashlight or whatever, right? Make sure everything gets repacked into your gear, and if you do use it for something, whether cap or not, make sure it gets back into your gear. And then finally, rest. All right, and you'll notice rest is last. These are the 4 hours in order. All right, we want you to do this before you pause, before you take your nap, before you rest after the end of the mission, because if you rest first, none of the other R's are going to get done. I promise you. All right. So don't drive to Walmart tired and unsafe, but definitely as best as you can get your 4 hours done before you rest, because if you rest first, the other stuff will never happen. So. And I'm not going to go so on your evaluation, you'll be on your task evaluation for refit. You're going to be asked how you would refit after a sortie versus how you refit from a mission. I'm not going to go into that. It's all pretty similar. That's all lined out in the task guide, but the 4 R's is really what I wanted to touch on here. Questions. I love questions. 4 R's, ground team gear, GSAR. Anybody have any questions about NESA GSAR? I know we don't get to do it this year, but I'm happy to answer questions about that. About NESA or NESA GSAR. Especially when I talk about advanced GSAR, because it's my favorite. Perman, the basic lead, is just smirking. All right.
Yes, there's a couple of questions about this. Could you go over the task guide, the items that are in it, and how they acquire one?
Like how they acquire the task guide itself?
Yes, where would someone go to get a task guide?
Absolutely. So this is the task guide, okay? Yours will be green. Mine is orange because I've duct taped it for durability. Yours will come green. It's got a green cover on it. In the task guide is, I don't know, there's probably 30 tasks there, or 25, yeah, 30 tasks there for the various ground team specialties. So we use task-based training. So for each specialty, whether it's ground team 3, 2, 1, leader, or any other specialty in CAP, it's all broken down into these individual tasks. And the task guides are where you find the definition for those tasks. They teach you how to accomplish the task. And it also contains the evaluation criteria for that task, or how you're going to be tested on that task. If you come to NESA, we'll give you one of these. If you go through basic anyways, we'll give you one of these. But you can buy them from Vanguard under all other circumstances. So Vanguard sells these. They're like $7 or $8, I think. They come printed nicely in this little form factor. They are actually really nice in this form factor. You can get it online. So there's a PDF version you can download on the NESA website. Some people will print that. It's many, many, many pages. You can absolutely do that if you want. I'm not going to tell you not to. You know, the small form factor is nice as well. So Vanguard, $8 will get you a green Bible, and it's got all the tasks you need for ground team in it. Who's next?
Someone asked, can I use a hydration bladder, or as we paraphrase, a cadet death bag, instead of canteens?
Okay, yes, absolutely. If you're going to drink, I carry a hydration bladder. You saw mine, right? Now I got to go pick up the gear that I threw over there. See that hose? That's a hydration bladder. There's nothing that says you can't use a hydration bladder. Now, there is a correct way to use a hydration bladder. You know, Cop said cadet death bag. I don't know if that was him paraphrasing or if that was in the question. But there is a correct way to use a hydration pack or hydration bladder. You need to take actual drinks, actual gulps. People will tend to sip on hydration packs and feel like they're drinking water, but then at the end of the day or at the end of the 2 hours, they will look in their pack and they will realize, yes, prevent and treat injuries, right? They will realize that I've drank very little water, okay? And this is the point where they usually start feeling the effects of heat injuries, and then we have to get involved to help them, okay? So there's a correct way to use it. You need to take actual drinks of water, but absolutely, I do not like the cadet death bag characterization of these things. I think they are wonderful because they make your water very easily accessible, much more accessible than a canteen that's flopping around on your waist on a pistol belt or whatever. I like it. It's right here. When I'm thirsty, or even when I'm not thirsty, I'm gonna take a drink of water. So yes, if you want a hydration pack, use a hydration pack. Definitely take care of your hydration pack. We do see a fair number of leaks for the very, very cheap ones, or ones that haven't been taken care of. So make sure that you're taking care of your hydration pack. And if you do carry a hydration pack, you know, maybe keep an extra bottle around. An extra bottle knocking around will never hurt anybody, and it's good backup in case you do have a problem with your water bladder, because we do see a lot of those at NESA. All right. Well, if we don't, I'm going to check one last time with the moderators if we have any questions.
I think we are going through most of them. One of them was just a generic, what is NESA? If you can go into those details.
Yeah, what is NESA? NESA is as the National Emergency Services Academy. So the National Emergency Services Academy was founded it was founded in its original form over 20 years ago to provide a really high quality immersion experience for learning emergency services qualifications. So it started with ground team. It started as the National Ground Search and Rescue School, and over time it evolved into the National Emergency Services Academy, where you can learn the ground team through the GSAR program, you can learn aircrew specialties through the Mission Aircrew program, and you can learn mission-based specialties through the Incident Command School program, or Incident Command System program. And it provides a either 1 or 2 week experience, depending. It's kind of a pick your own adventure book, but it provides either a 1 or 2 week immersion experience for learning what you need to become a ground team member 3 or become a ground team member 2 or 1 or a mission scanner or whatever. So in the GSAR program, we have the basic school and the advanced school and the team leader school. In the basic school, you're going to spend a week becoming a ground team member level 3. It's a really, really great way to spend a week really getting the fundamentals down. Many people will choose to then spend a second week with us and stay for the Advanced Ground Search and Rescue School. The Advanced Ground Search and Rescue School, or AGSAR, is going to cover ground team members level 2 and 1. So there we're going to cover things like lane navigation. We're going to cover things like small team decision making, how to plan and brief a sortie. A lot of really good skills that I really like. It's why I like running AGSAR. And then we have the team leader school, where you're going to do ground team members level 2, level 1, as well as the team leader. So what we find is that we have many who come in already as a ground team member level 3 and take our ground team leader school to become a 2, 1, and team leader. And then we have some that'll do 2 weeks where they'll do basic and then they'll do team leader school, and you can do that as well. So it's a 1 or 2 week experience to get the S-quals essentially. And we really love it. We're a student-focused activity, so we work really hard to provide a really high-quality experience for you guys. And I really hope I'll see all of you there next year.
Cool. Major Ernesto, and I'm going to botch this and I apologize, Arario from Puerto Rico. Is there any recommendations of using a hard cap or hard hat as SAR equipment?
It depends on your area. I don't use one. I don't have a huge amount of need for one. Cop is laughing in his webcam because Cop really likes his hard hat. It depends on your situation and your own risk tolerance. I am not overly worried about walking through the Illinois scrub without a hard hat. People do it all the time with no issues. I do wear a hat. We have ticks here and other bugs that I don't want in my head. So I do wear a cover or a hat or something. But I don't personally wear a hard hat. I'm not going to stop you from wearing a hard hat. In fact, I think there somewhere in this task there's discussion of a hard hat when necessary. So I'm not going to stop you from wearing a hard hat. It's just not something that I personally do. But if you feel the need, absolutely go for
it. We have an anonymous post, but I like the question, so I'm going to read it. I'm an air crew, all positions, but squadron would like ground team training. Suggestions on equipment modifications and uniform for those that don't meet the height and weight. The recommendations for aircrew squadrons getting into ground team training.
Okay. So if the question is regarding height and weight, regarding like uniforms, I do not meet height and weight. I wear blue BDUs. That's the uniform you wear, and they work amazingly. They're no different than ABUs or BDUs from that respect. Mine are ripstop. They're actually a lot cheaper than ABUs, which I kind of like. Mine are ripstop. You don't have to get yours ripstop. I get mine ripstop, and they give me some flexibility on what I want to wear for boots as well. They're not quite as restrictive on footwear. So from assuming we're talking about a high weight from like a uniform perspective, blue BDUs, 100% way to go. I love mine. I don't mean height weight. I love mine. Okay. As far as gear, that's kind of going to be whatever gear you buy, right? So, I notice on mine that, sometimes the straps are a little, like that chest strap is a little short when I put it on. But you know what, that's okay. It's just going to depend on what gear you buy, what you need to do to it in order to make it work. That being said, depending on the area, ground team can be a physical activity. So, ground team is, especially if you come to NESA or you get into an area where they do a lot of searching, ground team is a physical activity 100%. So, definitely make sure that you are prepared to do that without becoming a victim. And, it doesn't really take much. At the end of the day, I tell people at NESA, at the end of the day, the physical activity we do is 1 foot in front of the other. And if you can do 1 foot in front of the other over and over again all day long, then you can do NESA. And you can do basic GSAR and advanced GSAR. But that's a decision you kind of have to make for yourself. I can't help you make that decision.
Here's a good one, kind of a general, from Cadet Senior Master Sergeant Nathaniel Little from Mid-Atlantic, North Carolina 300. What is a sortie?
Sortie. Oh,
both the French and the American versions.
I really hope Colonel Long is still on. So sortie, let's talk about what the word means, like literally. So sortie is a French word. It means exit. Okay. So a sortie from a practical perspective is you leave mission base, you go do something, and you come back to mission base or back somewhere, right? Sometimes there might not be a mission base. Sometimes you gather at your squadron, your ground team will gather. I'll call you on the phone, say, here's your briefing, go do, and you go do, right? And you go back there. So that's a sortie. You leave, you exit, you go do something that you've been briefed to do, and then you come back. That is, or you go do something else. That is a sortie. I always love to talk about this because in advanced GSAR, we teach you a lot about sortie, well, not so much search planning, but sortie planning, as well as the paperwork that goes into making a sortie go. And this stuff takes time, especially when you're new. And so I always like to remind people that you're going on a sortie. Sortie means exit. Exit means get out of my base and go. All right. So sortie is just you're going out, you're doing something you've been briefed, and you're coming back, and that's a sortie.
Perfect. I don't see any other questions.
Okay.
So unless you have anything further, I think we can wrap things up.
Nope. Thank you, all of you, for coming. Thank you to all of our moderators. We've got Major Cop here, Major Z, Major Zavatakis. I don't remember, Captain Anderson. Are you captain now? Did I demote you?
Lieutenant.
Lieutenant. Okay. Lieutenant Anderson, by the way, I just want you to know, after hearing all this, Lieutenant Anderson would like you to know that the 24-hour gear is not rocket science. So not that hard. Anyways, thank you, Lieutenant Anderson, for being here. And thank you for Captain Miller, my training officer in advanced GSAR. It's been a while since I've seen you. Thank you so much for being here. So thank you all our students. Thank you to all of our moderators. And everybody have a wonderful evening. This will be available online recorded. So share it around your wing, share it around your squadron, learn from it. Thank you.